Alright guys, I want to run through a very quick field strip video for a 1911 Government. This is 5-inch Kimber, custom to. You've seen the review on my page about this. If not, you need to go watch it. Great gun. But I want to do a quick review. I've had a lot of people come in the shop and ask me to take these apart for them, and I really like to tell them to, if we're busy, if I don't have time to sit down, I'll run through it real quick and then say, if you have any questions, go check out YouTube. And there's a lot of guys on here that have great videos. Kind of want to do my own though, but I kind of do these a little backwards from some people. There's a couple different ways you can take this gun apart. Usually the way I start, like we've learned, first question is the gun loaded? We can see in there clearly the chamber is empty. We're handling a safe gun. Believe it or not, there are such things, contrary to what Brady campaign wants you to believe. But anyways, different story. Usually what I do, with the hammer, back, cock position, safety up, see if we can get this in a position where it's a little easier to see. Camera angle's fairly terrible, and my desk is nasty, so please forgive me. But hammer back, cocked and locked. And once you get to that location, you have bushing up here. And there's a couple different ways you can do this. I usually use my pocket knife, but I left it in my truck last night. And I have a few other knives laying around, but not ones I really want to use taking apart a gun. So a tool that you probably always have, magazine. Have the factory Kimber magazine here. We'll just drop it in this bushing. And what you're going to do is you're going to push down on your, it's hard to do with this angle, push down on your spring assembly here and turn your bushing towards the ejection side, the lower cut side. So, I have a bushing wrench upstairs also. I came unprepared for this. I didn't think I was going to have time today. But what we're going to do is I'll try to do it sideways. You have your ejection side. We're going to push in on your spring assembly. Right here, your magazine should fit. See that how the bushing is cut here? Your magazine fits almost perfectly in there. So push down on it. You can kind of twist the magazine and get the bushing started. Usually, once you get it started, where it's pushed down in this position, it's fairly easy to keep turning it, and you'll see it turned even more there. But once you start getting close, you really want to be careful not to lose any parts, because certain parts will fly out at high rates of speed. Let's see. Drop my camera down just a little more. There we go. And once you get a little closer, see right there, heavy spring cap, taken off the spring now. Your bushing is turned pretty much all the way to the left, and you have this giant spring hanging out the front of the gun. It's okay. But basically you're going to rotate the gun over, flip your safety off, and then now you don't have to fight any spring pressure. Now you can just pull the slide to the rear, and from the other side you have your cross pin sticking out, and you're going to see it lift up. See if we can get better light on there. See how it lifts up right there? On that first small indentation, not the slide stop, but the smaller indentation on the frame, or slide. You're going to push up on that. Cross pin comes up and out. Set it to the side in a safe location. Another small part you don't want to lose. Push the slide off to the front, and now you have a frame that you can set to the side. Set it up here, and then now you have guide rod, spring, and barrel assembly. Usually what I do now is go ahead, pull the guide rod all the way to the rear, pick up on it, and you may want to pull the spring out to the front. Sometimes it works fine, sometimes it don't. This time we'll just go ahead and pull the spring out towards the front of the towards the muzzle end, set the spring down, grab the guide rod, pick up on it, lift out. Guide rod's down there to the side now. Then your bushing is turned to the ejection side. Now let's turn it to the other side. It's rotated over, and what that'll do is allow this locking key to come to the open spot in the slide, and bushing will slide out. Now you can grab your barrel, push up through the bottom, pull forward, and barrel assembly comes out. Now you have a completely field stripped 1911. Cleaning, very straightforward. Basically brush out with your nylon brush the entire frame, breech face. You know, give it a good spray. Oiling, I usually go very light on oiling. We joke at work about how people go to the Quaker State gun or School of Gun Lubrication. The idea is not to totally bathe it. Put, you know, just a few drops in the right spot, and it'll go a long ways. Frame, basically just scrub it out. Nothing real special about there. This happens to be a custom 2 gun, so you'll see popping up here the backstrap safety lever, kind of a to operate the drop safety inside the gun, which is operated by this plunger, which is kind of hard to see. Uses Jag, the complete wrong tool, but you can see right here how that kind of goes in and out. It's where your drop safety is. Maybe an important thing to check whenever you have the gun apart. But basically, you know, scrub it out, wipe it off, clean your bore. Very straightforward on that, like every gun that you've ever cleaned. But going back together, barrel assembly goes back all the way to the rear. See how it locks in place. I go ahead and pull that lug up and out of the way. Then you have your bushing. Once you get your bushing started, it's got to go back in towards the closed side of the gun, so that lug will pass. And once you do it on your own, you'll see it better. And then go ahead and turn it over to the ejection side, so you'll clearance the guide rod. And then guide rod in through the rear, and it's cut in a semicircular fashion, so that's the side that rides against the barrel. And then you'll have, usually on recoil springs, you'll have a closed end like this, and then a open end. You can definitely see the difference. The closed end will go down the guide rod and seat there. The open end is where your spring cap will go. But now that I've got it in this position with the lug standing up, usually so you don't have to fight all these parts falling, usually I start them upside down. And you're basically lining your rails up with the respective sliders inside the slide, starting at the rear. Give it a little jiggle. And if you happen to have, 80 series Colt or Kimber 2 model or whatever that has the drop safety, if you're pushing in on this, you're pushing that that little plunger down into the slide. So sometimes you will have clearance problems with that. So I usually try to grip mine on the side, like push against the grip panels. Then you can push it forward, and once you get to the point where it's in battery, to where it's even, like if the gun was just laying there in battery, I usually go ahead and flip it over. And we got lucky this time. I'm doing it looking through the camera, and it looks like we got pretty good clearance on the little lug in here. Remember the one that was flipping back and forth on the barrel? I have to line that up with this hole, and I usually go ahead and insert my cross pin. Sometimes it'll take a little wiggle. Let's take a look. There it went. Sometimes you just have to move them back and forth, but we got good clearance. Get my cross pin in there. Now that holds the barrel where it needs to be while I go ahead and slide the slide back. Once again, lining that smaller indentation up with your plunger and your lock assembly. And usually what I do to get around that dummy scratch, you'll have that, how you'll see them sometimes don't have those giant scratches across here in a perfect circular motion. To get around that, so you don't do that, instead of starting way back here, push this all the way up against that plunger. And sometimes you can even get the plunger kind of halfway in. Sometimes you can even take a smaller object, push on that plunger, and kind of get a head start. You want to be careful doing that. Don't damage anything. But once you're to the point to where the key's about to fall into the hole, and you've got everything lined up. You're going to take your left thumb, push down here. The only downward motion you need is pushing on that pin, and then pushing up and in. You kind of push up and in with your right thumb, and then it falls right in there. And look, we don't have any scratches. Yay! It kind of makes you look bad whenever you're trying to show somebody else and you scratch your gun. It's not a good idea. And then go ahead and push it back to battery, safety back on to the same position we started in, and then it's basically just with the open-end spring, cap over, and compressing your spring. And this is another critical part where people may get hurt. May not be a bad idea to wear eye protection and do it in a well-lit room, but it has that kind of ridge around it. Once you get it close, you can set the bushing on the ridge to where you can grab your tool that you're using. In this case, like we said, a magazine, and push in on that spring, turn your bushing to where it locks, and start to finish. Do a few function tests, make sure the gun still works. That's important. If you take it apart, make sure it still works when you put it back together. But slide seems to work fine. Safety, firearm does not discharge. Safety down, firearm discharges. Maybe want to do that a few times just to make sure. And seems like we're back in fine working condition. Any questions, comments, or any way I can get better, please let me know. Thanks for watching, guys.